All right, ladies, let's get started. We're going to play a game because I love games. And this game is a little different because what we're going to do is I'm going to have you pick a number. That number will correlate to two words that I'll show you on my screen. Those two words you're going to do a couple of things with, and it's a group answer thing. Even though you pick the number, we'll do it as a group. What we're going to say is, all right, first, what are the two things? Define them. And then second, how do they relate? How do they relate? Sometimes the relationship will be very easily to understand. Sometimes you're going to have to use a little bit of, well, this connects to this, which connects to this, to my third cousin twice removedness. So we just got to do it that way. No particular order, no particular topic that is more, heavier than the other. It's just all important terms and topics. So Gemma, why don't you start 1 through 50? You pick a number, no pressure.
Okay. I'll pick 7.
Oh, okay. 7. So we got the statute of frauds and the statute of limitations. Can either of you, and Krista, you're more than welcome to as well. Can either of you tell me first what the statute of fraud says?
That it has to be in writing to be
What
enforceable.
has to be in writing?
The contracts have to be in writing to be enforceable.
I love that answer. Can you tell me which type of contracts have to be in writing to be enforceable?
It would have to be like the employment agreement, purchase contract.
Purchase contract. So I'll be more specific. The statute of fraud says if it's a transfer of interest and real estate, it needs to be in writing. So a purchase contract, or if you give somebody an easement. In fact, I often say, I've been doing this for almost 2 decades now. There used to be a test question for my school that said, why do agency contracts have to be in writing? And everybody would jump to statute of frauds, but that's not the right answer because an agency contract is not a transfer of interest in real estate. Our agency contracts have to be in writing because the commission said so. Statute of frauds would be, I give you an easement, I'm selling you my house, here's my deed. So I love that you knew that answer. I'm just going to narrow it down a little bit more. Right. Now, what do you know about the statute of limitations?
It's a limitations that have to do something with the court action.
Yes. So it just means you cannot wait forever if you're going to sue somebody, basically take them to court. So I don't know if y'all have ever watched, and I say this all the time, like Law and Order SUV. And I always think of it because it's heartbreaking, but there'll be some case where somebody was abused as a child, but now they're 40 and they can't go after their abuser because it's out of the statute of limitations. Like you just aren't allowed to take legal action against them. So it's almost like the ability to do so expired. And I think because they both have the word statute, you all get that they're both laws. I don't think I had to have you guess that one. No. All right, very good. Krista, your turn. Pick a number 1 through 50.
Let's do number 9.
Number 9. Okay. Ooh. Are you doing that because you knew it or because you just liked it?
Because I could see it.
But you got to go with you got to go with, be brave, y'all, be brave. But that's okay. Exclusive versus, and I guess I should really say exclusive agency versus exclusive right to sell. Exclusive agency versus exclusive right to sell. And either of you can answer. Who can tell me about exclusive agency?
Exclusive agency is where you have a employment contract with the seller, but you do not have a guarantee of commission.
Why don't you have the guarantee of commission?
Because in agency, you're basically stating that if you that's a hard word to say, procure. How do you say
Procure?
That? Procure. Thank you. The buyer, then you have the right to commissions. But the exclusive right to sell means that the seller can sell it or you can sell it, but you're going to be guaranteed a commission regardless.
Exactly. That was a wonderful explanation. In exclusive agency, you're not guaranteed a commission because if the seller finds the buyer, no commission is paid. But an exclusive right to sell, it doesn't matter who finds the buyer, you're going to get paid. Now, my only question would be, because I think it's once again pretty clear how these are related. What if another cooperating broker finds the buyer? In each case, So if you're ABC and you are the listing agent, the listing firm, you all find the buyer. You are another agent in your firm. We know what happens if the seller finds the buyer, but what happens if an agent from XYZ finds the buyer?
They get the commission.
In both of them?
Yes.
Yes. And just remember what usually happens in a listing agreement is that between the seller and the buyer, because this is what all those lawsuits are right now, usually what happens is the seller says, hey, listing agent, I'll pay you a 7% commission. And then of that 7%, you need to give half to a buyer's agent. Right. It's not like the commission split says 7 and 7 or 3.5 and 3.5. It says listing agent, you get all 7. And then listing agent, when you put it into the MLS, here's what I want you to offer a buyer's agent. But you are absolutely 100% correct that in both of them, it doesn't matter if the listing firm finds the buyer or a cooperating firm like XYZ finds the buyer. In both of these, you get paid. It's just about, do you get paid if the seller finds a buyer?
Exactly. Yep.
Nice. All right, Gemma, your turn. 1 through 50.
I'll pick 10.
I'm going to eliminate next time y'all choosing something on the page. All right, chattel and emblement. What do you got?
Okay, so chattel is personal, movable, and then implements is when the farmer is able to come back to get their crops.
Exactly. So how were they related?
Because they're both personal.
Yeah, because they're both personal property. Only thing I would add is remember with implements, you have the right to go get your crop. That's on leased farmland. That is only on leased farmland.
Got it.
Krista, I'm going to give you the hard one. You cannot choose 1 through 12.
Okay, so 22.
22. Remember, you're not alone. You get to call a buddy here. Ooh, the bundle of rights versus adverse possession.
Bundle of rights. Which is your title? It's the right. Do I have to name all the bundle of rights? Or
if you can.
Well, probably not.
Sure, we got it. Between the three of us, we got it.
Go, Gemma, go.
Okay, I got disposition, exclusive, control, possession, and enjoyment.
Let's see.
C, right?
Deep sea. Very good. Very good.
Yep.
Does you remember deep sea? So we know the bundle of rights is what you get when you buy something, right? Sometimes you'll see it with a bundle of sticks. And what's adverse possession?
Basically taking something that isn't yours.
Ooh, taking something that's not yours. Exactly.
Yeah.
Bonus points if you can tell me what you have to prove to say, oh, it's mine. You should give it to me, judge, and not let the original person keep it.
You've had, I'm trying to think of it. I don't have anything in front of me open.
It's not, right?
Huh?
It's the notorious open hostile.
Yes.
Yes. Close. Open, continuous, exclusive, adverse, and notorious. Ocean. Very good. We got somebody who came in late. We're gonna let him in this time. All right. Who picked that one? Actually, no, before we go on,
I did.
Tell me how do these connect the bundle of rights and adverse possession?
Because it's property, right? It just goes after 10 years, they just go.
Yeah. Both of them have to do with your rights in a property or your ownership in a property. When you have the bundle of rights, when you own the property, you get your bundle of rights. You could lose the right of ownership through adverse possession. Very good. Very good. All right. Somebody choose another number. You know what I should do is make it so y'all can't see it, but that's okay. Gemma, pick another number, one that is not on the screen.
14.
14. Ooh, a good one. Easement and encumbrance.
Okay. An easement is something that, like, no, an encumbrance is like a burden, right? A burden or claim.
Yes, I love that.
And then an easement is pretty much something that runs with the property. We're given
Ooh.
permission.
Something that runs with the property is a word, and it's a word that starts with a vowel, but the meaning of runs with the property is not easement. Either of you know what that word is?
Appurtenance.
Appurtenance. Very good. Appurtenance. So something that runs with the land is appurtenant. I like to think of it like having a kid. So if you all have kids, or if you know have a friend with kids, or even if you're a child, when you date somebody, so if I started dating a guy and he has a kid, I'm not just dating the guy, I'm dating the guy and the kid. Like the kid comes with the guy. I can't get rid of the kid without going to jail. So y'all get what I'm saying? That's an
Yeah.
appurtenance. So something that would be appurtenant would be like your rights, your water rights, something like that. Or we know there is such thing as an appurtenant easement, but what is an easement in general? Want to help her out there, Krista?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? I was
Oh, sure.
asking my son a question.
Oh, no, you're fine. You're fine. What is an easement?
An easement, it's basically being able to use somebody else's land to be able
Ding.
to, yeah.
I
It's
love it.
Yeah, an easement by prescription. You've got the servient, the dominant tenement, the people that are using, so that you're not landlocked.
Very good. Very good. Yeah. An easement is the right to use or cross somebody's land. So you have your appurtenant easements, which means they run with the land. It's one land's right to cross another land. The dominant land is crossing the servient's land. Okay. But you also have like your easements and grows, which would be any kind of commercial easement, like utilities or train tracks, or the city's like, hey, we need to put a sidewalk or a walkway in here. That would be an easement and gross. And so they're connected because an easement is a type of encumbrance. And you gave a great definition of encumbrance. You said it's a burden. Well, yeah, if you buy a piece of land and there's an easement, that's a burden. If you buy my land and I've given Krista an easement to cross it, when I sell that land, she still has the right to cross it. So now your land is burdened with the fact that anytime Krista wants, she can be like, I'm walking through your backyard.
But a lien can be an encumbrance too, correct? Like anything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. There's different types of encumbrances, liens
A
and
lis
easements.
pendens.
You said what else?
Is it? I think it's pronounced Liz.
Lis pendens, which is
Mhm.
notice of pending litigation. Hey, you should know this is being somebody suing on this.
Mhm.
You've got encroachments, restrictive covenants, all of those things. Nice job. All right. Not on the screen, a number not on the screen. Krista, it is to you.
Okay, let's see. 33.
33. Ooh. Unenforceable versus economic obsolescence.
How do those two relate?
Well, here's the great thing. The fact that you're going, I don't even know if I can make these relate, means you know what both of them mean, which is cool. So let's start with the meaning first. What does unenforceable mean?
I'm thinking of a contract that's not in writing, maybe, or if it's because I know they don't have to be signed. I'm thinking of a lease because of the webinar we did earlier today, and he was talking about unenforceable versus, being able to take it to court. And an economic obsolescence is something that's either lowering or increasing your value in your property.
There you go.
Yeah.
So I love those. Unenforceable. And I'm glad that you had the webinar today. Today's Friday, so it would have been with Stu.
It was.
So unenforceable relates to contracts, and it directly relates to the statute of frauds that we talked about earlier. What did we say the statute of frauds was? Either of you?
It's just to be enforced by writing.
Yeah. If you want it to be in writing, if you want it to be enforceable, say that right, it needs to be in writing. So if I promise to sell you my land and it's not in writing, it would be unenforceable. So it all connects. And then you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. Economic obsolescence is when you're losing value. So this would be part of the cost approach. And once, in the cost approach, what you're doing is first you have to rebuild the property and then you depreciate it. And when the appraiser takes off value because of some type of loss outside of the property, like, oh, now you live near the trash dump or you live off of a major road or something like that, something the homeowner can't control, that would be economic obsolescence. So how are they related?
I have no idea.
Yes,
And that
Candace.
is an answer.
How are they related?
Well, when I made my list, I was like, I have to be able to relate them. I didn't really think about it. So here's what I would say. Economic obsolescence is when you're losing. It is when you are losing some type of value, right? And if you have a contract that is not in writing, like, I'm going to buy your house, or I have the ability to buy your house, and we don't put it in writing, I lose that value in that house that I can't get. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I know. I just that was part of the fun when I made these lists. I was like, there is a way. I've always said there's a way to connect every single 2 words in real estate. I guess that's not a single, but still. It may be distant, but it's there. So both of them have to do with loss. Unenforceable, you're losing that right to force what happened in the contract. And economic obsolescence, you're losing money. Good. All right. Gemma, you know what's going on. It cannot be numbers 29 through 37, but 1 through 50 otherwise.
12.
12. Ooh, a really good one. Single agency versus designated dual agency.
All right, so single is just one party, and then dual is pretty much one brokerage firm that represents the buyer and the seller, or it can be like 2 licensee representing one buyer, one seller from the same brokerage firm.
Yes. Can you go into a little bit more detail on designated agency for me?
Just means that, let's see, trying to find an example. Like a for sale by owner can be a dual agency if it's representative.
Well, no, that wouldn't be a designated dual agency. And I'm going to explain why. So I'm glad you're not right, but I'm glad that you said it so we can make sure we clear it up. So a for sale by owner means there's only going to be one agent involved, the agent that finds the buyer. And that person usually represents the seller, because a for sale by owner, or FSBO, means the seller didn't hire a listing firm. They were their own listing powerhouse. And then they're paying, if we're talking about an agent, they're paying the agent that found the buyer. Now, by definition, designated is got to be a type of dual agency. And you explained that part correctly. In designated agency, you've got one agent who's representing the buyer and another agent who's representing the seller. Both agents work for the same firm. One agent's working for the buyer, one agent's working for the seller. They both work for the same firm. Where designated agency gets, I won't say complicated, or where it is different, is that it's a type. I like to consider it a type of dual agency, because dual agency at its core means one broker, one firm is representing both the buyer and the seller. Right? So that could be you, Gemma, are listing your house, and then a buyer walks up while you're at the open house and they say, hey, would you help me buy this house? And now you personally are representing the buyer and the seller. And we know from dual agency, if that's what happens, you can't hurt either, nor can you help either person. Because to help that buyer, we're like, oh, you know what? Here's a great list price. you would be hurting the seller. But if you help the seller by saying, oh, I think full price would be an awesome offer, then you're hurting the buyer. So in dual agency, nobody gets any secrets. Nobody gets any advice. You're kind of like a neutral party. What a lot of people don't realize is it could be you are the listing agent and you have an open house. And it turns out Krista has a buyer who also works at your firm for your broker. She's got this buyer. And the two of you could be representing the seller and she could be representing the buyer. But if it's truly dual agency, not designated agency, truly dual agency, neither of you can give either people any advice or secrets or skill. If a client wants that, then both clients need to agree to designated agency. So dual agency is where all the broker, all the agents, everybody in the firm, everybody just stays neutral. And designated agency, one agent out of the firm works for the buyer and can give that buyer, secrets, advice. Here's what I think you should offer. Here are the repairs I think you should ask for. And then there's another agent that works for the seller. Hey, here are the secrets. Here's the advice. Here's what I think you should push the buyer to give up, all of those things. So designated, you get to still be on the team and work for your client and really give them that extra benefit. Does that make more sense? Does that kind of clear it up, I should say?
Yeah.
All right. And because it is a type of agency, I think you knew that. Single agency it's basically where you and your firm work for just the buyer or just the seller. Now, ladies, what are the chances you're probably going to be tested on that?
I know here it's pretty high in Colorado, but because we don't have dual agency, we have transaction brokers.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah.
So you're going to be tested on agency no matter what state you're in because, this is what we are. And I really think it's uber important for us as agents, no matter our states, to understand, because like Krista, you said that you have transactional brokers in Colorado. I'm in North Carolina. I don't have transactional brokerage. So if I'm a buyer coming to Colorado, you're going to have to explain to me, well, what does that mean? And as a bonus, Krista, what does transactional brokerage mean?
Basically the same thing. You're not being an agent to either one of the buyer or the seller. You're basically like a referee. You're just assisting them, but you're not giving them any loyalty to either side.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I like to think of transactional brokerage as what dual agency really is. I think dual agency is a misnomer. How can I be your dual agent and not give you any secrets and advice? I'm not really your agent then. So I love the states that say we outlaw dual agency. You can't call yourself somebody's agent and not give them any secrets and advice and skill. Instead, you can't do that. You can't call yourself an agent and not give those things. If that's what you want to do, call yourself a transactional broker, because that's all you're really doing, bringing together a buyer and the seller. They're hashing everything out on their own.
Yeah, it makes more sense to me.
It makes more sense to me, but they should just let us rule the world. It's my opinion. Okay, who is next? I think it is you, Krista, yes?
Yes. Let's go with 36.
36, yeah. Ooh, block busting versus commingling.
How do those two go together? What did you do, Candace?
That sounds like you've been watching me. You know exactly. What did I do?
What did you do? Okay, block busting is basically it's like panic selling, panic peddling, panic. It's basically an agent going, I see it as like knocking on the doors and saying, hey, you might want to get out while you can.
Yep. You're trying to get people to leave because some protected class is moving in. All right.
Okay. And
what's
commingling is it's basically combining funds that should be not in like a trust fund account. You should not be having your employees pay or having your commission staying in the trust account for too long. You need to move all of those funds that have nothing to do with your actual seller and buyer, and it has to do with the brokerage, into their own accounts. They can't be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Commingling has to do like with trust funds. You
Mhm.
can't commingle your business funds with the funds of your clients and customers.
I'm just trying to figure how they go together, though.
Because blockbusting is trying to stop the people from commingling.
Oh,
Oh, okay. Well, that
Womp,
makes
womp,
wah,
womp.
wah. Okay.
But it does. I mean, it kind of connects, but doesn't. But it just makes it a little bit more fun. All right. Good job, ma'am.
Candace.
Gemma, you are next.
okay. 30.
Okay. Ooh, got 2 years here. 1978 and 1866.
Okay, 1978 is lead base paint. We have to disclose it.
If the house was built on or after, or on or before, 1978, you got to disclose lead-based paint. Love it.
And then
Builder's permit clause.
1866 is a civil rights, where it's like discrimination against race.
Yes.
And then I guess they both, because they're a year. So
Yep, they're related because they're both years you have to know. They're just both years that you have to know. You could say both of them are federal laws, right? So both of them have to do with that. Nice job. I got to give you your snaps for that. Good job. Krista, it is on you. Pick a number.
15.
Ooh, going back
Have we
to
done
the
that?
top. We have not, and it's a good one. Co-op versus a condominium.
Oh. A co-op. You don't actually own the unit, you own interest. Like, yeah. And a condominium, you actually own your unit and common interest in like the amenities. And
Very
co-op, yeah.
good.
The co-op and condominium, how they kind of go together is they look just alike.
Well, yeah, you're hitting it on. They are the same because they are both apartments.
Yeah.
And what I think a lot of people may not know, not just you all, but people who watch this, is apartments and condos are the same. Apartments you rent, condos you own. They're the same thing, though. So a co-op is actually when you own stock in a company. And because you're an owner and part owner in the company, that gives you the right to what we call a lease. Anybody know what type of lease it is? It starts with a P. And Gemma's like, I know.
I know it, but I forgot. I know it starts with a P.
Proprietary.
Oh, proprietary. I was like, proprietary? That can't be.
Proprietary is the states. I like that, but I'm liking we're pulling up the P words there. So proprietary lease says, oh, you own 10% of the stock. We're going to let you lease this apartment. Now, if you want the penthouse, that's going to cost you 40% of the stock. But if you want this basement apartment, here, take 10. Right. So you're leasing an apartment and you have the ability to, because you're an owner in the company that owns the apartment building.
And it also does affect the other people that own are in the co-op. If one doesn't pay,
yeah,
then it affects everybody else, but not in a condo.
Well, it depends on what the condo is, right? And how big the condo is. Because a condo, if enough people don't pay, then there's not enough money to pay the insurance. Does that make sense? So let's say you have a condo and how do I say this? So you have a condo, there's 200 units and 150 of the people stop paying HOA dues. So, and I know the question that you're thinking of, I tell people it's not that it doesn't have an effect. It just takes a much larger amount of people for it to not have an effect. Because if nobody pays their HOA dues, who's paying for the insurance on the building? You get what I'm saying?
Yep.
But if it's just you, if you, Krista, are the outlier, you're the only one not paying your mortgage or your HOA, well, your mortgage is just going to get
me in trouble.
Yeah, it's just going to be foreclosed. That one unit is going to be foreclosed, right? That's okay. That's fine. And we probably have more than enough money in the HOA to cover your one person. So I never like to say in a condo, it doesn't have any effect. It just is going to have a much smaller effect until you build up more people. Right. Good job. And I think we get the why co-op in condos, apartments. Nice. Okay, I'm going to choose a number because nobody has said anything in the 40s. So I'm going to go 40.
I'll go 48. 48. We'll pick 48. Let's
You
do
take
it.
48.
Take it away
Okay.
from
Okay.
you.
48. You're like, what? No, she's going to pick a hard one. I don't remember what's on this list. 48. Ooh. Trid versus Tilla.
Okay. Trid has to do with the Tilla as well as the Tilla and the Respa.
Mhm,
That has to do with
mhm,
the closing,
mhm, mhm, mhm,
the closing disclosures.
mhm,
And then
mhm.
Tella is everything with the financial charges, credit cards.
Very nice, ma'am. Very nice. So they both have to do with closings. TRID means truth in lending, TILA. RESPA, integrated disclosures. So we know truth TILA says something, and then RESPA says some other things, and some of those things match, and they have to be disclosed at a closing. TRID allows us to use one set of paperwork, or I should say two, the loan estimate and the closing disclosure. It's one set of paperwork that satisfies the needs of truth in lending and RESPA. Right. And you said it exactly right. Truth in lending is about disclosing either whether we're talking about advertising or just borrowing money in general. Truth in lending says lenders have to be truthful about what's going on. What am I paying? What are you charging me? What are these rates? All of those things. And bonus points. Can anybody tell me something about an APR?
The annual percentage rate does not have to be disclosed.
Well, the APR, if you're going to be disclosing something, if you're going to be talking about loans, you should disclose the APR because the APR takes into account all of the fees, all of the extra costs. So you might have an interest rate of 5%, but by the time you pay all the fees and points and things like that, then all of a sudden you could be at 4.2%. I am impressed. A lot of people struggle with that. Nice job, ma'am. All right, Krista, your turn.
I'm trying to remember all the ones we have and have not done.
Just choose one. If we've done it, we'll just choose another.
40.
40. What's the difference between a material fact and puffing?
A material fact would be something that you have to disclose no matter what. It would be like there's a leak.
Mhm.
There was a fire, something that's material that would change your mind,
Yes.
possibly buying it. Puffing would be exaggeration of possibly an amenity, like saying that the lake view is so gorgeous and it literally has like a highway in front of it or something, it's making something seem better than what it is.
Yeah. Puffing is an exaggeration. I like to say puffing is online dating. I'm so tall. Sir, you are 5'9". Not saying that 5'9" is short, but I would not necessarily call that tall either. Like,
It's amazing.
so very good. And it has to, they both have to do with what you say to your clients or customers. You have to share material facts. To not do so would be a omission if you don't say it, or it could be misrepresentation if you lie about it. And then puffing's about, yeah, you can say like, this is the greatest view in all of Denver. Is it though? Like maybe in your opinion, but your opinion's not wrong because it's your opinion. And you know what they say about opinion and buttholes.
I like it when you see the listings, it'll say cozy or quaint. Why don't you just say it's 200 square feet?
Yeah, it's small. It's quaint. It's real
quaint.
close.
It's so cozy.
Exactly.
And you're like,
I say it's too small. You say it's quaint. Tomato. It's puffing.
It's puffing.
Right. All right, Miss Jama.
18.
18. Ooh. We're talking about agency here. We got special agency and general agency.
Okay, for general, it can be like a property manage.
Mhm.
And then for special, it can be like a buyer broker.
Okay. And how are they different? What is the difference in
So,
those two types?
because general is like an ongoing, and then special is just for that limited or for that
Yeah.
specific.
Yes. And I would point out too that in a general agency, the agent gets to make some independent decisions. So, like when you hire, if you hire Krista to be your property manager, so you own your home, but then you've got 5 other properties. Well, she's limited to just your investment properties. You should not come home and she's like, I decided to change out your water heater in your personal home. Nah, you would want her to make those decisions without having to contact you for your investment properties. That's why you have a property manager. But for your personal property, like where you live, so it's limited to one area of somebody's life, and that agent does get to make some independent decisions. Special agency, you have to do what your principal or client says. They say jump, you say how high. If a seller says list my house at 450 and you're looking around like this is 325 at best, you should tell them your opinion, but then you're going to list it for 450 because you don't get to make independent decisions. Nice job, ma'am. All right, I think we're gonna do one more. So Krista, you get to choose our extra
20.
special
It's
last
right
number.
there.
Which one?
20. It's just right there in front
20.
of us.
Okay. Eminent domain versus a sheet.
A sheet. Eminent domain is when the government is going to take your property for public use and pay you for it.
Yes.
Yes. A sheet is when somebody dies intestate. And is that right?
Intestate. They died without a will.
They just died without a will and they cannot find any heirs. And so the government now owns your property.
Very nice. And those are part of the 4 powers of government, which is Pete. We got eminent domain. We got a sheet. What's the P stand for? Either of you?
Police power.
Police power. And then, Gemma, what does the T stand for?
Taxes.
Taxes, because we know we got to pay them. And I just said they're part of Pete. So, ladies, did this help?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yay. It's a little bit more fun than just going blah, 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 blah.
There was a couple on there I was going to ask you.
You are more than welcome to. That's why I wanted, in fact, that's what I was going to say. Were there any words on here that you were like, Candace, could you please explain? Or I wanted to go into detail. So that is why I wanted to give some extra time. Go for it, Krista. Which one did you?
Can you scroll back down to like 40?
Sure.
I think it was down there. No, those ones are easier.
And you too, Gemma, if you see something that's screaming at you,
okay,
we'll do the slow scroll.
The slow scroll.
You know, the creepy scroll. I wish I had some Halloween music to play in the background.
For 37. So substitution.
Oh, yeah.
Substitution. Krista, do you know what substitution is? It's okay if you don't.
No.
Okay, so that has to do with value and the different principles of, value. Yeah. So substitution is what appraisals are based on.
Over another house that you can buy for $500,000.
Yes, you can substitute one thing for another. So if you had to choose between 2 houses in the same neighborhood, brand new, one is 4 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, and it's $450. Almost the exact same house as across the street, 4 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, and it's $560. Which one are you gonna buy?
The cheaper one.
The cheaper one. We like to be able to substitute. Like, no, it's this idea you're gonna pay for the lower priced item, which means you should be able to substitute those 2 houses for each other.
I think I got confused because how does it correlate with constructive notice?
Let me think. Some of these I didn't even think about. Let me see.
I don't know what substitution is.
Let me get what substitution is to constructive notice. So we know constructive notice is when you record something. So, okay, this is going to be a hard one, but if you're talking about substitution, more than likely you got an appraisal. Why do you get an appraisal? Because the bank wants to know how much they could sell the house for if they have to foreclose and cover their losses. And if there's a mortgage loan, that means there was either a deed of trust or there was a literal mortgage lien on the property. And either that lien or that deed of trust would be recorded at the Register of Deeds and give constructive notice.
Wow.
How do you come up with these?
Thanks, wine.
No. Literally, when I made them,
cat.
I wanted to make them just, it's really easy to guess words when they're all in a row. Like if I'm like, oh, all of these are water boundaries, accretion, erosion, avulsion. Like when they're all together, they're easy. But when you all of a sudden have to pick it out of the blue, it's a little harder. But that's kind of like what your test is like, right? You take this 100+ question test and any of these words could pop out. And you're like, brain overload. So I really do feel when students can tell me, like I give them a vocab word and y'all are like, and this is what this means. And this is what that means. It makes me feel better. Like I know when you get to it on the test, no matter how they present it or what they present it against, you're going to be able to pick the right answer. So.
Okay. Well, I'm looking at 35, the
Okay.
acceleration clause. With the habendum, which is the have and the hold, right?
Yes. Well,
okay.
The connection is that they're both clauses, but
that's what I was going to say.
Oh, okay. I'm like, acceleration, you got to pay this now because we want to have and hold it right now.
Yeah. Okay. So what type of document is the acceleration clause in?
Wouldn't it be like in your closing statement? Would it
It'd be in your promissory note.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Because your promissory note is your promise to repay. It's what creates the debt. You have the acceleration clause. You have the due on sale clause. You have the prepayment penalty. Those are what you find in your promissory note. The habendum clause is in a deed. It's that phrase that says, oh, you can have this and what's going on with your title. So they're both clauses, different types of different documents.
Okay.
Anything else? I'll do the slow scroll, the creepy scroll again. Feel like we should have some background music. Do 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 do.
I'm just trying to read them both.
Do 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 do.
Let's say general and spiral.
Special. Are you trying to say I can't write? It does look like spiral. I could do better. Let's make that a little better. You're right. You're right. That's
okay.
Special.
Special.
Special. That was special. That was how I wrote it all. Special. SPECIAL.
Got it. Okay.
And I think on here I tried to write avulsion and it looks like an N and it's just terrible. If I find it again, I'll change it.
5.
Ooh, Fred's Corn versus Ocean. So both of them are obviously acronyms.
Yeah.
Do you know what Fred's Corn stands for?
Fiduciary. Wait.
Think of block busting, panic peddling, steering, Fred's Corn. It could also be known as fresh corn.
Okay, it's the like the race, color.
Yes, it's your protected classes, familial status, whether or not you're dealing with kids, race, disability instead of handicap, that's mental or physical, sex, color, the color of somebody's skin, religion, national origin.
Got it.
Anybody, we talked about ocean. Ocean has to do with adverse possession. Okay. And you're wondering, I know, like, how do they have to do with each other? This was another one, besides the fact that they are both acronyms. It's the adverse possession is when you're gaining somebody's land for whatever reason. And very loosely, you can't stop somebody from having land because of Fred's Corn. So it's all about the ownership of land. So there you go.
Okay.
All right, guys, did this help? Did you kind of get you thinking in some ways and kind of make you think a little bit?
Always, always, always.
Well, again, I appreciate the two of you showing up. We were supposed to have 5, And I'm probably going to want to make more recordings in the future. You all showed up, so you will be on my list of people for free sessions in the future, if that is okay with you.
Thank you. I appreciate you, Candace, always.
Oh, well, you all are so welcome. Thank you. I hope you had a little fun too while we learned. And then if you're wondering about other things on this list, I have other people doing recordings. Some of them might choose the same numbers. Some of them might choose different numbers. So watch, and it'll be on my YouTube page. I'll send you all a link once it goes up, and you can just watch other people talk about other stuff too.
Okay. Thank you so much.
All right, ladies, have a great night, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.